Good Monday morning to all of you. I love you. I want you to know that I'm out in this garden and I'm trying to figure out what was destroying my plant there. And as I was cutting leaves off, because it's harder for a plant to survive, I noticed a little brown beetle on there. So I'm cutting all this back, but I don't want it to drop into the rest of my garden. That is very important, to pick up all the dead stuff. Don't leave it in your garden. I also found out that I can take these seeds. These are a smaller variety, mainly a decorative type, but they can be sprouted. Sprouted things are much more nutritional if you can find them. I'm also cutting back some of this because if it has a disease, it's going to be harder for the plant. I was going to let it flower so it would fertilize the plant, but I think these things will be just fine. My daughter said it's part of the nightshade family, which can kill you, but it's actually Okinawan sweet potatoes. Okinawan, and I don't know. I've ate them before and I didn't die. So, you can't believe everything that people tell you. There's another plant. This will be spinach. Weed. There's a crop that they used in the biblical time called manna. And when we looked it up, manna was actually the seeds from the cilantro plant. Cilantro grows to an edible plant within 3 days, from what I saw on another YouTube channel, which would make that pretty unique. For I have a bunch of seeds that I've saved. I don't particularly like the texture of it. These sunflowers were clear over there in the west, and now they're turning east. I wondered what they were doing. Resting during the night. Watermelon, sunflower, cucumbers. I think these are cucumbers. I'm going to have to make some cucumber stakes for them to grow up. It's better to do vertical gardening if you can. That means I'm going to cut that back. I don't really want one. These two will both be potatoes down here that I've already rooted. And I'm going to cut this off. You can actually get these vines to grow upward, which is more beneficial, I think, vertical planting. Okay, that's food. This is food. There's a food pile, a burn pile, and this mint that has already flowered. I'll cut them all back real far, like about there. We'll tie them up in a bundle and let them dry. And then these will be the seeds. This little part down here. But they root better with the root. So that's one of my other goals. Just clip back all of these. Blooming. Go back all the way further. There we go. All the way back here. You see all those babies that are starting on the sides? I'll show you how to lay them in the ground to start them. There's some over here, a whole bunch on this one that can be started. So, there's the plant. Kind of went out of focus, didn't it? Did that to me earlier. I don't know why. Well, maybe it's because I have my hand over the camera. That would be a... I'd love to have a gimbal, a thing that I could wear on my head, or even do live. It's very difficult to do something and hold the camera at the same time. But I'm learning. We all have to adapt or die. And delegate. Delegate the authority so others can do some of the jobs that you can't do everything. God delegates authority. Yeah, he does. And in the church that I go to, it's a very good delegation or die situation. There are people that help teach the youth and people that teach the children. We don't brainwash them. We just teach them they're loved by Heavenly Father. And that it's important to follow the commandments. Now, do I want to cut this whole plant back that's flowering? No, because we want the bees to enjoy too. Peppermint is a plant that, well, I think this is spearmint actually. I'm going to pull out these horrible weeds. They seed real fast. Throw the weeds there. Isn't that pretty, the purple? I love purple. I could live and eat and drink purple. I don't know why, but I love it. And when we were married, he hated purple. He hated it. It was so funny. Sage. The sage that I'm growing. Evil don't like sage. And no matter what I do to put it in the house, he'd get rid of it. So I think that the ancestors, his family, his ancestors, try to use him. And if you don't put on the armor of God, you can be used by other spirits. They don't get to have a body. It's called your first estate. You passed it. You got to have a body next. Your second estate is on earth. You're a spiritual being having an earthly experience. You're not an earthly being having a spiritual experience. By the way, what won't kill you makes you stronger. Flowers are a good way to attract bees to your garden. Now, today I learned something pretty interesting. That these plants, by the way, they dehydrated perfectly by themselves on the cabinet counter. Waiting for me to do something more with it. And I put them in a bag. You can always use them for soups. You shouldn't waste. Okay, so there's the pile of peppermint. There's going to be that pile. And then we have those guys over there. And I'm trying to get out of the sun. I wanted to show you this big giant tree that provides the shade for this garden. This is what it looks like when it's a baby. Okay. My camera's getting hot or something. Well, love you. Take care. Endure to the end. Jesus did. Your sons and daughters of God.